Okay. I have 2 more foam balls left, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of a dent in it. I've had them for a long time. These are the last 2 larger baubles I've got in my stash, and I thought I'd really like to just use them this year and make a couple more baubles. It's something I really love to do. It's fun because you can go as glamorous as you like. So this is a 4-inch ball, so I have cut some 4-inch, well, I've marked out some 4-inch circles out of this fabric, and this fabric was actually a skirt that I found thrifting a long time ago, and it's so pretty, and it's in that grey colour that I have been incorporating into my Christmas decorations for the last couple of years now. So I'm just going to cut out these circles, and I think the general idea is whatever size bauble you're using, that is the size circle that you cut out, I think. Right. It's Sunday morning here today. I love crafting on Sunday mornings. It's peaceful in the house. It's not quite as early as I would normally start crafting, but I have been in my craft room for a while. And already made one of these baubles and thought, well, I might just do a video on that, because although a lot of you know how to make these sorts of things, there are, you know, even if it's just helping one person to learn something, I think that's worth it. So there we go. We have 2 pieces of fabric. Now you can just try and find your center of the fabric, like there. And I've put a pin. I've kind of just estimated the center of my baubles as best I can. So I'm just going to go like that. So I've got a little hole there, and put that in the center of my fabric like that. Hopefully I got that. There. Okay. That looks, I think, stop moving. I think that looks about right. Perhaps a little bit more there. Okay. Yep. It doesn't have to be perfect. So that's where we want to be putting that. Just stick that in that little hole we made. Now, there's a lot of different ideas on what kinds of glues you can use for this, and I know there's special foam glues, but to me they take quite a long time to dry. This is something I don't want to be sitting around hours for waiting. I want it done quick. So I'm actually using a quick dry adhesive, a fabric glue. I could use a fabric glue too. In fact, I used the quick dry on the last bauble. I'm going to try the fabric glue. Now I know they're not recommended for using on foam because it can eat away at the foam. But in my experience, and I have covered a lot of foam balls for Christmas, and I've never had a problem. So I'm just going to go with what I know and use we'll use a fabric glue this time. And I'm just going to, actually I'm just putting it around the top to start with, to hold it in place, like that. And then we'll just flip that side over. You wouldn't probably want to use a fabric that you could see the glue through. This is quite a thicker fabric, and it does have does have a little bit of give to it as well, especially on the bias, of course, but you know, it's quite a thicker fabric. It's not just a thin cotton fabric. So just press that down. If you're using a fine fabric, you might want to use a spray-on adhesive or something like that, that you wouldn't see the glue coming through. Okay, now I'm going to do this bit by bit and just put a bit of glue there and just smooth it down like that. Okay, we're just easing it down so that it's fairly neat like that. And then you do that all the way around. Don't worry about the very edges just yet. And the same thing, just smooth it down and then, you know, roll your hand over it a bit. Trying to get as many creases out as possible. We will come back to this as well, so that's okay. You don't want any real big creases in it. Now once you've gone all the way around, then you can just, look at this, got to be careful of this glue in hot weather, and it has been quite hot here. Okay, so just smooth it down like that, and see how that's smoothing all those wrinkles out compared to that. And then we're just going to add little bits, just get into those little bits like that. Some will be bigger than others. And then just ease it in like that. It's okay to have tiny little bit wrinkles around the edge, but you don't want them going up onto the bauble. You want to keep them right around the edge, like that one's a bit higher than what I would like. Okay, so just like that. And I'll do that all the way around. Alright, so I've got around and done that side, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing on that side. The edges will either just overlap or just meet, which is fine because that part will be covered. So I'll be back once I've done that. Right, so I've done both sides of that. I've left the little pins in the middle. They're just so I know where the center fairly is, and I have a piece of beaded trim, and this was one that Rita sent me. I absolutely love it. It's got that grey look going to it, so thank you for that, Rita. And I'm going to be putting that around the center of the bauble here like that, and that will cover up all that join to start with, and just using the fabric glue once again. I'm trying to keep where the dents, like there were a lot of dents in this particular bauble, I'm trying to keep that to the underside of the bauble so that the top part looks rather smooth. Of course, if you have new foam baubles to work with, then you don't have to worry about that. So putting that around there like that. And this is the Helmar fabric glue that I'm using. If you can't get the Helmar glue where you are, just go with an equivalent strong fabric glue. This is fairly quick drying as well. And that just overlaps just a tiny little bit there, so we won't have too much bulk. That now, just make sure I've got it fairly straight. It can sometimes be a bit deceiving whether you've got these sorts of things straight or not. You have to hold them up from a bit of a distance, so that looks about right, so fingers crossed it is. Okay, and now this is a great opportunity to use all those fancy kinds of braids that you wouldn't normally use. You know, you might find them and think, oh, well, that might come in handy, and you put it away. And as you can see, these are rather leery braids that I found once. And in this bag was also this beautiful braid here. And so I'm going to use this. It's actually, see how that's threaded through the corded braid? It's really nice. So I'm going to use this end here, and you could use that either way. I'm going to use it that way. I feel like that's got a dirty mark on it just there, so I'm going to cut that bit off. We'll use that for something else perhaps. And we'll only need about 8 inches of this as well, but I'll just leave it on all together until I do it. And I don't want my join to be exactly where that join is there, simply because, oh, hang on, that's not sitting very well. Might have to cut one of those. It's all right, I've glued them so they won't unravel. I'll cut one of those off. That's better. Okay. I'll make this join, so that join is there. I'll make this one perhaps here, just so that all the bulk isn't on one spot, because there is going to be a little overlap and you don't want it to be bigger than it needs to be. So I'm just going to use the fabric glue, and just like I glued the braid, the beaded trim on, I'm just going to glue this braid over the top. Been quite generous with it as well. Although it's hot, so it comes out quite quickly. Alright, so lining that up with the bottom of the black part, I'm just going to put that like that, and that way it can curl over the top of the back part and disguise all that black up there. I love sparkle at Christmas time. I'm sure I've said that before. I just do. The more the merrier for me with sparkles and things. I've noticed a few people in the street have already got their trees up, which is a bit earlier than normal, but I think that's all right this year, they're saying. So I haven't got mine up yet, but probably the last week in November or the first week in December I will put it up. Okay, where am I going? I want to cut that right. Right there. see, there is always going to be an overlap, I guess. Oh, what's that? My bead fell on the floor. You do need to make sure you've got glue on the ends of the bauble. Let me just clean that off. Okay. And kind of meld it. And the join, you know, it's not too bad at all, really. You're going to get a bit of thickness, but not too much. So just put that on the back of the bauble where that dent is, see? And what I might do as well is, because braids do tend to fray if you're not careful, I'm just going to put a bit of glue on the end like that and smooth it out. There we go. There we go. So that will go to the back. Not that the front and back are going to be any different. There we go. Nice. Oh, I do like that. Okay. Let me just get that bead before I forget I dropped it. Okay. Alright. Put that away. Now I also have this lovely, what is it called? Washable gold fingering yarn that I found a long time ago, and I really love it. I've used it before on projects, and I really do like this one, especially for the hangers. So I just want to get the end of it, and I'm going to take off more than I need, a long piece, because I'd prefer to have more than I need for the hanger than come up short at the end. Just put that back in there like that. Right, so that will be my hanger. I've already chosen 3 beads for the top. And I've got this, I've got glue everywhere, this particular bead which came off a necklace, a chunky beaded necklace that I found at the thrift shop. It actually had red beads. I could have put a red bead on there as well, but I think I'll just keep this all grey and silver. Then this large bead here came from Gail, who is father of 4. Thank you, Gail. And so did this little bead here. Kind of goes dark again like this one, so hopefully that will look good. And what I'm going to do, I actually need one of these little drop beads that came off the tassel as well, so I'll be using that. And now I need to have a large needle, like a doll needle, and I need to thread this through this needle, which isn't always easy. Okay, the beauty of YouTube, where you don't have to watch the pain of me threading a thick thread through that needle. Alright, so I'm not doubling it over. I'm going to go in the top where that blue pin is, flip it over and try and get it out as close to the red pin as possible. Oh, no. That looks fairly close. Okay, so pull that through, but making sure I leave a nice long tail on that end. Once I'm through at this side, I can take that red pin out. Getting this little bead here that came off the dangled trim, I'm just going to go through and thread that. You've got to make sure your needle will go through the beads you're using beforehand. And then I'm going to take it back through and hopefully come out fairly close to that one, so I'll take that bead out now and pull that up. But I don't want to pull it too tight, because I don't want, if I pull that too tight, that bead isn't going to dangle. See that, how that is like that? So I need to kind of leave a little bit of looseness down here so that bead will hang freely at the bottom, but it'll stop the thread from being pulled through. That's the purpose of it, to stop the thread coming straight back through. You need that support for it. Sort of anchors it. Now I'm just going to tie a couple of little knots here. And that will also help it from not getting too tight down the bottom there. Okay. Now I need to go through this one, through this one, and through the top one, like that. Okay. And then I unthread my needle with that one, and this is why we need a lot of thread, and thread this side so I can go through it as well. Ta-da! Takes way too long to thread this stuff through this needle. So we're going through that big bead with that one, through that bead, and through that bead there. So we've got them all threaded on. I am going to put some glue down here. Just let me make sure that's still not. Okay. So what I'm going to do is put a bit of glue around here, the top part there, to hold that bead in place, like that. And that, you know, it's not glue that holds forever on this sort of thing, but it's just enough to stop them moving around too much. That, and a little bit there as well, I think. Like that. I can take that needle out now. Okay. And what I'm going to do is just tie a couple of knots at the top of that bead. Because that has a smaller hole than the larger ones. It should help it to stop from pulling through, like that. Make sure that's still not there, that's fine. And then decide how long I want my tie to be. And pretty much want it the same as the other one I've done, so just let me measure that. Okay, about there. About there. So if I cut that about there, I can do a little knot at the top. Like that. Okay, and there we have our lovely beaded bauble. How pretty is that? And not too difficult. And there's my last two foam baubles. So that's good. You know what's going to happen next year. I'm going to have to go and buy, unless I find things through the year, new Christmas crafting goodies, because I've pretty much used them all up now, which is really nice. So that's that one. And here is the other one. that I made. So they're both the same. I think the only difference is the top bead is slightly different, but beads from Gail. I'm so happy with how they look. They're so sparkly and they're going to look lovely on my tree, and I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you'll give something a try and grab those. I need to let that sit for a while. Grab those trims and things that you often think are a bit too decorative for some projects and use them for your Christmas crafting. Take care, everybody. Bye.